Evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 21st Muscatine City Council meeting. Fran, will you please do the roll call?
Councilmembers Raywalt.
Present.
Fitzgerald.
Present.
Nafig.
Present.
Saucedo.
Present.
Bynum.
Present.
Harvey.
Present.
Spread. 6 present, 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, Fran. Will you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay, we'll do it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. We're going to move along the agenda. We're on number 4, which is communications from our citizens. And first up, I understand we have several people here who would like to voice their concerns about the vehicle traffic on West Hill. Anybody here wanting to talk? If so, please come to the podium. Please say your name and address.
I'm Rochelle Conway, and I live at 920 West 3rd Street. And those of us who live on 3rd Street feel like we are now living on a highway because the traffic has just become terrific. Now, we knew that we're going to have additional car traffic, and then that's not what we're complaining about. Our complaint is the truck traffic, the semis, the cement mixers, the dump trucks. We just, it's just almost intolerable. This is almost, well, nearly in the last 3 years, almost a new street, particularly in the area from Ash on down to Green Street, and it's just getting tremendously beat up by these big trucks and the different kinds of construction equipment that comes down 3rd Street. They put in a speed bump, which does almost no good at all, because they either fly down 3rd Street and put the brakes on at the speed bump and then fly over it, or they just don't slow down at all. So the speed bump has not been particularly successful, particularly people going down 3rd Street heading toward Green Street. Coming up seems to be less of an issue, but going down 3rd Street is bad. But anyway, I don't know what you can do about it or how we can make it better, but it is a problem, and we are concerned about it. And it's not just traffic; the noise is tremendous. The screeching of cars as they get to the speed bump and then slow down and then fly over it. So I hope there is something more we can do to reroute some of the big traffic. Cars, nothing can be done about that, but it is a problem.
Rochelle,
Yeah.
does the problem seem to be the entire length of 3rd Street from, say, Iowa to Green, or is it at certain blocks?
It's, of course, I only live on one block,
Right.
but it would be, it would be probably the last. I think the biggest problem is that last block from Ash to Green Street, because it's so narrow and it's a curve, and consequently, it's just not a very wide street, and it's really hard for the big trucks and the big pieces of equipment to get down that street.
Is that the section that's being beat up the worst?
Yes, it is the section, and that was the section for sewer separation that, remember, was redone, and I think that was about 3 years ago. So it's a nice new street, or it was a nice new street. It is also an historic district, so we would like to keep it as nice as possible.
Thank you, Rochelle. We appreciate you coming down to talk to us about this. Is there anyone else?
Vince, Bob.
Please say your name and address.
My name is Bob Logal. I live at 922 West 3rd, next door to Rochelle. I agree with everything she said, but I think if that speed bump was backed up
before you hit the curve, because some people, especially somebody that's coming for the first time, don't see that until they get around the curve, and then there's the speed bump. So again, I agree with Rochelle. We don't care for the truck traffic and the heavy equipment, and I don't know if there's anything you can do about it, but we would appreciate some help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Local. Anyone else?
I just have a question. Greg, what are they supposed to be using? I mean, that street, especially the part they're talking about, that's not fun to drive on anyway because it's so steep.
So if you recall, the police department was out there over a 24-hour period on Monday, Tuesday, and did just kind of a survey of the traffic, and there was about 4,700 personal cars. There was, I believe, 17 or 18 delivery-sized trucks, and there was 2 semis that day. And then later in the week, they did traffic enforcement with the ATE, the mobile ATE camera, and did enforcement that day. So the detour route is 8th Street. However, that doesn't prevent local traffic from using 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. There's nothing that prevents folks from finding a route. Now, those are not truck routes, so unless they're doing deliveries, they should not be doing.
Well, if they have if they're coming up from the south end and they have a delivery downtown, that's not an appropriate.
No, but but there's
For them
only,
to travel.
for example, on that day, there was only 2 semis that day. They should be going to 8th Street and down and into town is the detour route.
What if we posted a no trucks except
is.
for local traffic?
It is posted, no
Is
trucks.
that what it is?
Barely.
We don't have local traffic only posted at this point in time. But it's not it's not something that we can enforce at that point in time. You can put the signage up, you can try, but they're still allowed to travel on that public thoroughfare.
Can
Greg,
we?
is that street,
So if you want, the traffic committee met again yesterday. Maybe let the public,
Let him,
and then
yeah.
we can let Brian report out on the traffic committee
Okay.
as well.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. Please state your name and address.
Vince Lawson, 606 West 3rd Street, and I guess I just voiced my concern about all the heavy traffic. You buy a house here in Muscatine on a quiet residential street, and all of a sudden it's the main highway almost. And speaking of the trucks, we seem to have a perfect storm of all this road construction going on, and I see a lot of the trucks look like they're dealing with the road construction going through there too. So I don't know realistically what you can do about it, other than sure encourage the city to do everything they could to hurry along this road construction, and then try and discourage people that are doing business and working downtown to use River Drive or, the main road, and get them off of our residential street if they could. Again, I'm just concerned, and I know road construction is important, we need to get that done too, but anything we can do to lessen this and hurry it up would be much appreciated on 3rd Street. I see they're coming up 2nd Street a lot of times too, and trucks are trying to make these corners, and they're working on 2nd Street, and I know our neighbor, looks like they've gotten their sidewalk ruined from the trucks running over it. It affects a lot of people.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
Mr. Lawson.
I have some people that wanted to come tonight but couldn't. Barb, who lives in the 800 block of 3rd Street, lives in a historic home, and there are new cracks in some of her old plaster that she's not happy about, the noise also. Mr. Lawson lives in one of the most, if not the most beautiful historic home in Muscatine, and I'm sure that's a concern of his also. We have friends at 3rd and Cherry. They have given up sitting not only on their front porch, but in the front of the house. They've retreated to the kitchen, and they're not happy about it. At 700 West 3rd, they also have retreated to the back of the house, and they're not tickled about that either. There are trucks coming up on 2nd Street, and they get up to 2nd and Locust, and it's a dead end sign and they jack around the truck and manage to run over Reischauer's sidewalk And you can see it's just been crumbled. It's not from age, it's just, they're just being destroyed for a half a block. And that's not their responsibility, I don't think. I was assured there was, well, I'll wait till you come up to talk about the signage. I'm concerned about the safety aspect of these large trucks rolling down that, past Rochelle's house where it's like this. If they lost brakes or even half their brakes, it would be a disaster. It's just not safe. The Landys at 512, 514 West 2nd, they've come about this close to having to replace a hydrant because they're going over their corner also. There are more trucks than you think. I make at least daily trips up around 3rd and Cherry just to see what's going on. 2 days ago, semi came up 3rd Street, and I followed it downtown where it parked in the alley next to Booney's. And I had called the police, and they were sending an officer, and I told the truck driver, I said, please stick around, you violated the truck ordinance, and an officer will be here shortly. And he was, a sharp guy, a K-9 unit, and he talked to the trucker for a moment, and the trucker left. And I said, what's this? He said, well, if they're making a delivery, they're exempt. I said, there are 43 ways they could get to Booney's without going over 3rd Street. This is nuts. You know, if they're delivering furniture to Rochelle's house, they got to take the truck there. But not to get to Booney's and not to do this other stuff. And I said, you know, so a grain truck comes over the bridge, turns left, goes up 2nd Street, destroys some more sidewalk, wanders up to 3rd. And if you stop him, he said, I'm on my way to deliver 40,000 pounds of corn to GPC. Is that a delivery? But there's no enforcement. That's really concerning. I was appalled when the officer told me that. He had 35, 40 ways to get to Booney's. So it's of great concern. It's a daily, it's just, you know, to keep banging your head, and it's driving them absolutely nuts. And I don't blame them a bit for being very unhappy. I'd requested some, I thought there was, I've requested signage at both ends of 3rd Street, and I was guilty of not having checked the intersection at the end of 3rd at 3rd and Main until yesterday, and I went down there the day before. There's one sign saying no truck traffic, but it's on 3rd Street. You will have already made the turn onto 3rd Street before you even see the no truck sign. It's completely ineffectual. And I was promised there were at least 2 there, and there's just one in a really terrible location. I had requested some large barriers to make it more difficult for people to get on that street. 2% of them belong there. And that hasn't happened. I guess it was decided against, but I suggest anybody who doesn't think it's a problem just to go up and sit at 3rd and Cherry and do a car count for a while and listen to the noise. The people I invited this evening, these are people from basically 2 blocks on that street, and the ones I read also. So it's a legitimate concern, and I'm amazed at how courteous my neighbors have been. Not one of them has thrown a brick at me yet. I fully expect it to happen. So that's what I have in mind, and I'll talk about more signage when Brian comes up.
Thank you. Please say your name and address.
Hello, my name is Shelley Servideo, and I live.
Pull that down.
Well, then I will. Okay. Hi, my name is Shelley Servideo, and I live at 210 Lynn Street. So I am right at kind of where this is originating, these trucks, and I also own a business right at the end of 2nd Street in the downtown. So these trucks are stopping right in front of my business. They're going, oh no, what do we do? How do we get around this corner? And they're kind of going up, and they're turning right there at Lynn Street, and then they're catching 3rd. The dump trucks that are going up and down, they're going up, they're turning on Lynn, then they're catching 3rd. So a solution, to be solution-oriented, we've got to get those dump trucks to go back down the other way and then take the detour to 8th like they're supposed to be doing. That's where the enforcement needs to be happening, in my opinion. If we're going to be solution-oriented, I don't think it's going to be a matter of more signs. Once they already hit 3rd Street, it's too late.
Too late.
If we're going to do traffic enforcement, have the police right there at the top of 2nd Street turning those trucks around and saying, buddy, every time until they get it, because that they're cutting corners, they're doing shortcuts, and they're coming from the construction sites that are on Second Street. So they've been told, they know better, they're still doing it, and it does over time. I mean, it's also damaging the historical buildings that are on Second Street, these businesses. It is affecting our businesses and our business traffic. It's affecting our neighborhoods up and down Third Street, which are historical neighborhoods, and those houses, they are suffering from the rattling and the vibrations. So we have to be solution-oriented moving forward, and we have to understand the origination of the problem is really at that corner and that turn. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Hearing nothing on third, are you going to talk?
Yeah.
Come on up. We have a lot of new folks here tonight. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Brian.
I'm Brian Steinman, Public Works Director, and I was feverishly writing some notes down, so I'm hoping I can address all the issues. As a statement, I'd like to say that we understand the concern, and please don't misunderstand. We're not allowing trucks to go up Third Street. That's not our intention. It's not like we're saying, go ahead and go. We're just in the same boat as you guys. We don't want trucks on Third Street. We don't want trucks on Second Street. Second Street and Third Street are signed appropriately per the Manual of Uniform Traffic Code. We actually doubled the signage at Second and Pine and Third and Chestnut. There used to be one sign there, now there are two. They have flags on them. I don't drive a semi. I can't speak for truck drivers. I know that what I've been told when I stopped them is I didn't see the sign, or I got to get there, or they don't care. They have to get where they have to go. So we are working with the contractor from Mississippi Drive project to not have them use their dump trucks on Second or Third Street. They should be going up Pine to, let me get my bearings. Chestnut to 4th or 5th or 6th to go to the city ravine that we're filling. That's where the material's going.
That's right.
I don't have direct control over the contractor for the hotel project. I know that some of their trucks are going in and out for the construction of the parking ramp. That would be enforcement that I am not able to do. I don't do the enforcement of that.
So who would we talk to then, Brian?
Police department would enforce the traffic.
Okay.
Yep.
So I don't know if that was something of communications that we can do from our public works or our community development who's giving them permits.
I've worked with the police department. They're aware of the same issue. They are doing what they can, I believe. I don't see anybody here tonight, so I can't.
I don't either.
Captain Snyder's here tonight, back.
Okay.
Oh, there he is.
So, but that's where Public Works is. So we're not able to write tickets for this. We're not able to stop cars. I can go out there and flag them and tell them go back. And I've caught trucks up there before. When they're at the top of the hill, at that point, it's safer for them to just let them go. There's no reason for them to back out or try to go through a narrower street to get out. We just let them go. Going back to this, let me see, the speed bump. Speed bump was requested to the traffic committee by 2 different residents on 2 different sections of Third Street. We put them in where the citizens had requested them to go. From what I've heard from those people, they've called back and said they were working great. So I guess I disagree with that they're not working well. We only have enough material to do 2 speed bumps, so they're out. They're going to be there until winter time, and we'll take them down. We looked at putting the speed bump before the curve, and it wasn't safe, we felt, with the turning radius to drop it right there and not have it. So we want to have people have time to come around and see it rather than just hit the stop sign. Because they were at the stop sign, to speed up that fast before the curve, it just didn't seem like it made a good sense to put it there. Let's see. We would like to speed up construction as fast as we could as well. I agree with that sentiment. If the sidewalks are broken because of construction, we can look at that. That's something that we wouldn't burden the homeowner with. We'll work with them on that later on. The street was reconstructed 6 years ago, 2011. It's more than 3 years old, 6 years old. With the violations of trucks to making deliveries, I looked at city code briefly, and they are allowed a certain distance to go from point A to point B if they have to get to where they need to make a delivery. So similarly, we had an issue a couple weeks ago on Cypress Street where the truck went down Cypress past the no truck zone, but that's the route it had to get to make its delivery. They are allowed to do that. And if there's a question about that, I would defer that to law enforcement, but I read that in the code, so I know that there's a section there that handles that. The noise violations, I understand it's noisy. It is construction. there is a noise statute in town. That would be an enforcement issue as well. So I can't help you with that. I'm sorry.
When do we feel that we would be able to start saying this traffic's going to be slowing down?
2 weeks. We hope in 2 weeks that we'll have 4th Street around 4th Street Park open, which would open 4th Street from Cedar to all the way through, right? Yeah, so that 4th Street would be open, which would release some of the pressure. We hope that in 2 months, Mississippi Drive will be open from Broadway to Iowa, and then therefore we would allow traffic in, and then it could go up Iowa and go out, and that would probably take care of all this issue once that's done. But the detour route is 8th Street. It's posted at 2nd and Mulberry. There's a sign that says all trucks must turn right. There's 2 signs at Chestnut and 3rd, no trucks. There's 2 signs at Pine and 2nd, no trucks. And there's a sign at 2nd and Pine that if you're going up Pine, if you're doing it legally, you can't turn left and you can't go straight. So you got to go right and you got to get out that way. So it's covered, it's signed, and the traffic committee feels that it's sufficient for what we have there.
But you feel that's sufficient?
It is, yes, that's what the traffic
Why?
committee feels.
How do you feel that way?
Because it's double signed, and that's all we can
But
do.
it's not effective.
I realize it's not effective, but I can't drive the trucks. I can't tell them where to go. It's a similar thing with speed limits. If people speed, we don't have a speed limit sign every 100 yards either. I mean, there comes a point where we're oversaturating it. If they're going to drive past the first 2 or 3, what does 3 or 4 more do?
Why is there only one sign at the lower end of West 3rd, and it's on 3rd? You
It's
don't
on
even know
3rd
it's there.
because it's on 3rd because you're not allowed to have trucks on 3rd. If we put it on Main, that would indicate that you can't have trucks any further on Main, which isn't true.
Well, it's totally ineffective because they're on 3rd Street before they even see the sign.
I have no other place to put it, though. It has to be on that street. I
You
can't put it on Main
or
Street.
else people
Yeah,
would think
people-
you'd be on Main.
you can't-
That doesn't
that
make,
doesn't work
it
on
does-
Main.
that wouldn't work. They'd have
So
to,
it's as close to the corner as we can get it, where if they're trying to turn there, and if they were observant, they would see it, and then they'd have time to turn out and go up Main Street.
But I feel and these people feel this is, what we're doing now is woefully inadequate. And what improvements can you offer?
Honestly, I don't think there is an improvement to be made. I really feel that it's the driver that's having the issue, it's not the city that's having the issue. So if you want to go back to enforcement, I guess that would be the option. I don't think throwing more signs out there is going to dissuade anybody from traveling up these roadways.
I think,
Justify a flag man or something?
well, I mean, you could have a flag man, but who's going to be doing that? I think honestly, from my personal perspective, is it's communications for us. How do we, as a city, communicate to those contractors? Because there's an enormous amount of contractors that we're
The
not doing.
contractors we're working with, but
Well, I understand that, but I mean, I think, is there a way that we could have either, I don't know if it's a traffic enforcement group or if it's the police department, but being able to communicate to the on-site contractors, if it's at the come and go, if it's at the hotel, if it's at whatever construction that we're having, communicate either a route, a map, draw it up with a map. We could have Andrew set something up and say, this is the route you guys need to be taking, or else we're going to start having enforcement. Because obviously we know those are the guys that are probably doing it. If you're saying, hey, it's not our group on the Mississippi Drive, who else is driving them? Who else is bringing in cement trucks?
He said it was the hotel.
Well, we don't know, but he doesn't know for sure if it's the
I
hotel.
understand what you're asking. But we
I
also,
think that would be a simple communication piece is what I'm getting at.
it could be a simple communication, but then we also get into the legal area of we're dictating ways and means of construction for them. And then we might face liability for that. If we tell them to go here and something breaks and we told them to go there, then therefore they no longer have the liability. It's an issue that it gets cloudy, I guess. And
I think what I'm trying to do is offer a recommendation for a route that we would feel that would be best fit for them.
The Public Works Department has talked with the contractor, and they have instructed them on the route to take, the appropriate routes to take to the dump site and to get to the other side of town.
That's for the river.
Which is the truck route, the designated detour. We have done that. The cars are the vast majority of the issue. They are following the law. It's a public thoroughfare. It's open to the public. It's local traffic finding a different route. They're not going up to 8th Street. They're using 3rd Street at present. You can't close off 3rd Street to traffic.
So I don't think that's what we're having an issue with, Greg. I think
Well,
what
if you
I'm
go-
hearing is more of trucks that
But
are
it-
screeching to a halt, stopping over the speed bumps.
Based on the 2 days that the police department were out there measuring, it was 4,700 cars, 17, 18 delivery trucks and 2 semis that were out there. So the vast majority of the problem, just go out there on a weekday morning at 7 o'clock and watch the cars rolling in and down the hill. The vast majority are personal cars that are coming into town. People are finding a way, and that's how they're getting to downtown. They're using 3rd Street rather than going all the way down to 8th Street. So, I mean, you're not going to close off 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th so that people will take 8th Street. We don't recommend putting the chicanes in the middle of the street. You're going to cause a safety problem for two-way traffic by doing so. I personally don't have a problem with the local traffic only issue. Although it's not enforceable, it's a sign that may deter some folks from using that route. We don't have those. I guess we have a partial sign that we may be able to modify to fit those needs. Personally, I don't have a problem with that. But it's not an enforceable sign. It may deter some folks. But the vast majority of the cars are personal cars that are going into town and going to work, and they're finding the quickest way to get there.
It's worth a try, isn't it? No through traffic or
Well,
whatever?
Well,
but there is.
it is through
There
traffic.
is through traffic.
So we can't
What did you
mislabel
call
it.
it then?
Well, I called it.
No, local traffic
or
only.
Local traffic.
No,
Local traffic only, but
But everybody who lives in town is
everybody's
local
local.
as well.
And
So
they're finding the quickest and fastest route to get from point A to point B. And delivery trucks are allowed to take the quickest and fastest route to get from point A to point B for their deliveries as well.
They
But
are?
Brian, you
It
are
says
saying
that
if
specifically
there's-
in the code?
That's it in a nutshell. I don't know if Captain Snyder knows it off the top of his head, but that's what it is in a nutshell, yes.
So there are no rules.
No, there are
That's not what
rules.
they're saying.
Yes, absolutely.
But Brian, you are saying if there's damage to their property, certainly get a hold of you and you will
we'd be happy to
work
look at
on
it.
that issue.
Yeah, we'll definitely look at it. I don't want to volunteer anything right now, but
Sure.
I don't feel that if a truck damages it, and you know that's something. If a truck runs over a corner of the property or the street sign or stop sign, or let us know, contact us so we can come out and evaluate it, and then we can get recourse hopefully against the trucking company as well, so they can pay for it. I mean, they're the ones that damaged it.
Now, this suggestion won't necessarily deal with the cars, but can't we put a weight embargo on those streets and then actually give them a ticket for exceeding the weight?
Those trucks are not supposed to be using Third
I
Street.
know, but what's your enforcement mechanism?
Oh, the
None.
But embargo the street.
Embargo, put a weight embargo on
ton.
it, and then you can fine them.
Tons.
No,
Oh, I
then
see.
I can't travel 3rd Street with my
Yeah, we
van.
can do that.
I'm almost
If-
4
if-
ton.
If that's the direction the council wants to take, we can do that. I don't know that it'll solve the problem, but it would definitely, well, it would add it to the enforcement, I guess, is what it would do.
Yeah.
If they're gonna ignore it, but they're overweight as well, then they have an issue with the DOT as well as.
Except to
local.
Brian's earlier point, the issue should essentially clear itself up in about 2 months. Because Mississippi Drive will be back open. People will not have to go up the hill, and then back down 3rd Street. They'll be able to go straight down Mississippi Drive and to Iowa and into downtown.
But the
That's quite a
constant,
while from now, though.
but the constant pounding of these heavy truck, and it doesn't have to be
But it's,
one every minute,
right.
because I used to have a drop, there was a drop in front of my house before we did Mulberry, and man, those feed trucks come in and they hit that,
Right.
and it just literally rattled my house. Well, my house is built differently than those houses with the plaster. Drywall handles it better than plaster walls. And they've
In
got
that-
brick foundations
But
and,
in that time period, you had 2 semis, and it's probably a similar situation that Brian was talking about. They probably got to that point, and at that point in time, by the time they get there, there's no safe route to turn them around and get them back over to the truck route. It's safer to take them up and out at that point in time.
well, I think
But
what,
you've got essentially 2 months, and it should clean up the vast majority of the issues. We can certainly
if we could.
try the
well,
local traffic only.
Look at, for local traffic only, and maybe even put a weight limit on the roadway for a period of time. Just, if they see enough stuff, they'll go, well, hell, I can't go this way anymore,
Yeah.
and go on.
Gotta have something
Because
on Main
Required
Street.
ordinance change, so
So
by the time you get through the
We have
process.
to do an ordinance change in
weight-
order
on the
to
weight
do a
limit?
weight limit on,
Well, the trucks are using 3rd Street because they have no incentive not to. there's no dissuasion. Signs aren't a disincentive. They don't have to pay anything to use Third Street. And why can't you close off Third Street? You keep saying you can't close it off. Well, why can't you? We close streets all the time.
Close it off to, other than
All
local
traffic.
traffic only?
Yeah, the residents can get there
I mean, it's
around the
it's a-
barricade, but the trucks aren't going to make it.
It's a public thoroughfare, it's open, there's no,
Well, we can close it.
Well, that's where the local, if you put a sign up says,
then they're just
no
gonna go to.
truck
that's my-
traffic, local traffic only, then it might sink in a little bit.
But that was kind of my point earlier. If you close off Third Street, I mean, you got Second, you got Third, you got Fourth, you got Fifth, you got Sixth, you got Seventh. They're going to find a way to get from point A to point B.
Oh, yeah.
And
So we would just
and
push the problem up-
We've been
up a
pushing 8th
block.
Street from, and the 8th Street detour from day one with all of the messaging that's out there. Local folks are finding a way to get from point A to
Yeah.
point B.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
ton. I agree. Go stand out there at 7:30 in the morning, and you'll see a ton of traffic coming down Third Street, and there's a ton of cars. Absolutely, absolutely.
We have another neighbor who's just right there. He lives at Broadway and Third. Would you like to participate when he's done?
Do you have anything to add, sir? Okay.
I'd suggest we do try and modify our signage that we've got and try and do a local traffic only piece. I
Can't hurt.
I just think
think
at this
I don't think it'll
point,
dissuade,
at
but
this point in time, council's not going to figure it out for you. I think you guys got, I
Not to
think you guys can
belabor a
handle it.
point.
And the
But
Main
on the
Street
agenda
end is-
tonight, we're going to consider closing off Orange Street for a week and a half. So we can close streets.
you can. My only point was, if you close off Third, they're going to use a different route.
Well,
Second,
apparently
third,
they can't
fourth.
use Fourth yet.
Well, it'll be open real quick
Shortly.
here.
They'll go up Fourth and they'll cut back down to Third. I mean, it's,
You think they use
I
Fourth and go around the square about?
or they'll cut back down to Third, or they'll cut up. Well, if they can't get through Fifth, they'll find a way. I think you're just pushing that problem further up the hill.
Well, if we issue enough money tickets, we could pay for the policemen to be there.
You can't issue a ticket for those personal vehicles. You've got two
No,
semis
I'm
and,
talking about the trucks.
right.
Most of the complaints were with the heavy traffic,
Right.
not,
Captain Snyder, do you know off the top of your head what the fine is for the semis?
0.
Truck route violation.
It's been a while, but I believe the last time we were filing under city code, it was roughly $150 in court costs.
Unless they're making a delivery.
Correct.
They are exempt if they're making a delivery.
I can't hear you, Captain.
They're exempt if they're making a delivery.
He said they're exempt if they're making a delivery.
He really didn't want to come
Now,
up
you
here.
can say it again.
Under certain circumstances, trucks are exempt when they're making deliveries, yes.
Like on that street. If they want to go to Mrs. Conway's house with a roll of carpet and some furniture, they can go on that street.
As far as the city code specifies, they have to follow the truck route to the most direct point of whatever departure point would take them closest to their delivery site. So it's kind of a cloudy code,
Well,
so to
let me
speak.
ask a specific question, Captain, that I referred to before. Coming up and over Third Street to get to Boonies was not necessary to do that, to make that delivery.
May not be necessary, but it is allowed under the code,
So,
because it is the most direct route.
Right.
Because Main Street is the truck route. He wouldn't necessarily have to go up Main, down 8th, and then
the police
cut over.
department has put out patrols, designated people to sit along Third Street. I can't attest to you right now, a number of times we've done that, it's been quite a few, where we've had officers sit and monitor the street. To date, I don't believe any semis have been stopped using the street, nobody's observed that. The traffic car was put out, and over a 48-hour period, like Mr. Manseger said, what the traffic car does is it measures lengths of vehicles, so it identified at least 2 vehicles that could possibly be semis, but that doesn't mean they were, because it could also be measuring a truck pulling a utility trailer going up the street. So it doesn't distinguish, it just kind of measures the distance of the vehicle going by. So we will continue to watch the area, we will continue to give it as much patrol as we can. And that's, if we see the violations, we'll address them and stop them and deal with it.
Later on that week, you also had the car out there doing citations as well.
Yes, we
speed.
had the speed car up there monitoring
Right.
the speed coming up and down Third, so.
Let me
I
ask you a
think-
hypothetical. If there's a grain,
Hey, you got to wait till you come up
if there's a
here.
grain truck coming over the bridge, they turn left and their GPS sends them up Second Street, and they wipe out Reischauer's Corner again, and go up Third Street and go over the top and get stopped. Say, sorry, I'm making a delivery of 40,000 pounds of corn to GPC.
That would not be acceptable, no.
About everything else is though, huh?
It would be on a case-by-case basis.
And I think Rochelle was sharing that it's not just the semis, but it's also the dump trucks that are creating an issue for them.
And we've addressed that with our contractor. They are not, we've given them specific routes to take to the dump site and to 8th Street detour route.
And I think Brian said he's going to have communication with the parking garage that's being built to make sure that they have that same information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Can you come to the speaker, please? And
So what day were you doing the measuring of the vehicles? Of the week, like a Monday, a Tuesday?
That's just off the top of my head.
So what day of the week was that on a calendar?
the 13th and the 14th?
It was a Monday and a Tuesday when we had the car out there measuring traffic, and I believe it was a Thursday and a Friday.
Okay,
when they were out there.
so again, my name is Shelley Servideo. So again, like I said, I do have a business in the downtown, and a great deal of our businesses, we're closed on Monday, so that we don't have a lot of delivery trucks coming on Monday. So that wouldn't accurately reflect what the neighborhood is saying with how many big rigs they have coming up and down the street during the week. So maybe a better day to do the study would be a busier day. A lot of us are getting our deliveries on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So a study on a Monday you said you only picked up 2 trucks. That would probably make sense for a Monday when most of us aren't getting a lot of traffic, big rig wise.
It was a Monday, Tuesday, and a Thursday, Friday, I believe.
So Thursday, Friday, he said he was doing ticketing for speed, but he didn't necessarily say he was doing measurements of big rigs.
Monday, Tuesday was the measurement.
So how many big rigs did you get on the busier day, or did you have a busier day big rig wise, or was it just ticketing for speed around the curve?
On Monday, Tuesday, it was 2 semis,
Okay.
17 or 18 delivery-sized vehicles, and 4,700 plus personal cars.
Okay, but you didn't do the same count on the day you just did enforcement? You didn't do counting? Okay, that's what I was trying to clarify, because
It doesn't do both. You have to do one or the other.
you can't do both.
Right.
Right, I understand. So I think that it would be a more accurate reflection of the traffic that the residents are complaining if we did the count on a day when most of us are getting our deliveries in the downtown or businesses, because a great deal of us are closed on Mondays, and early Tuesday mornings, we're not
Good
really.
point,
Yeah,
Shelley.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Please say your name and address.
Hi, my name is Fernanda Sanchez, and I live basically on the corner of Cherry and 4th, where all that heavy construction is going on. And the first and foremost thing I have to say is that I think closing 3rd Street would be a huge mistake. I do think that there is a lot of traffic that comes up and down, but in my opinion, from what I witness every day, there are not big semis coming through my area. Most of the trucks that we see are trucks that are related to what's going on with the construction. They're Han trucks bringing stuff back and forth. They're dump trucks taking all the cement out of the area. I'm not really concerned with the bigger trucks, but I am concerned if the discussion is on the table to close 3rd Street. I'm definitely against that, because the traffic that comes through 3rd mostly is people going to and from houses, work, school, whatever's going on during their daily activity. So to me, it would be a concern if we close 3rd Street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez.
Okay, moving on.
Anything else, Brian? Are you good? You're going to, it sounds like the council was asking for you to.
I think what I heard was that we would put out the local traffic only sign to see if that helps. And I believe that's the extent.
We're going to take a look at the sidewalk after the construction season's over.
Correct, yes.
And you might just, if somebody's having an issue, like rush hours, that maybe it might be prudent to go take pictures now, and so that in 2 months you can see how much additional damage is done.
It's about as damaged as you can get. I think I'd ask staff also to look at the wording and see if we need a change in the ordinance. The ordinance now seems to be no trucks allowed unless you're a truck. And there's no penalty. That doesn't seem to be sufficient.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Brian. And please, folks, if you do have issues specific that come up, please feel free to contact staff anytime. We'd like to move on tonight's agenda. The next thing, we're still under communication from citizens. And so I would like to ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to talk about anything that is not currently on tonight's agenda. So please say your name and address, Mr. Trent.
I would, Your Honor. My name's Bill Trent. I have an apartment at 1222 Vista Court. I had the honor and privilege of serving on this council for 8 years, from 2000 through 2007. Had the privilege of serving with Phil and Bob. But I'm here tonight for a entirely different reason. Don't want to cause any problems. You've got enough of those of your own to deal with. Isn't it fun being on city council and having to handle all these problems that the city comes faced with? Anyway, I wanted to say thank you guys for your service to the city, and especially a thank you to all the city staff. We have wonderful city employees. They work hard each and every day to do the very best job they can for the city of Muscatine, and they've been doing a great job at that for a long time, so thank all of you. But the main reason I'm here is because of an ad that I saw in the paper the other day. And the ad said something like, administrative assistant for the city of Muscatine. And I read down a little further, and it said, attends all council meetings and takes minutes. And I said, you know, I think I know that person. Actually, I've known this person for a long time, both before and after I was on council. So I did a little checking, and lo and behold, I did know this person, and you all know it already, but I heard that this person is planning to retire at the end of this calendar year. Well, this person is a wonderful employee. She's friendly, she greets people great, she handles problems great. She's served a lot of administrators and mayors and council members over the year. And frankly, I can't think of anybody who doesn't think she's just wonderful. And I may not be here in person when she actually retires, so that's why I came down tonight. And that is to give my personal thanks to Fran Donaldson for the wonderful job she's done all these years for the city of Muscatine. Thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Fran. Thank you so much, Mr. Trent, for coming down and sharing those kind words for Fran. Is there anyone else who would like to speak about something not on tonight's agenda?
That would be me. My
right.
name is Shelley Cervidio, and I am a member of State Central Committee for the Iowa Democratic Party. I am chair of the Veterans Caucus. That's for all 99 counties and all four congressional districts. So SCC passed some resolutions this past weekend, and so what I've come to the City Council for tonight is to read those resolutions that were passed at SCC to you and ask that you please consider them and, please contemplate them and consider passing them. So the State Central Committee of Iowa Democratic Party encourages us to reach out to our local government bodies and employers to have those difficult conversations on race, ethnicity, and national origin, and to ask what their policies are and identify our allies. And this is in regards to the DACA policies and the 6-month deadline that we have pending. Another resolution that was passed was stating that Iowa should be recognized as a safe state for DACA recipients. These resolutions were passed by the State Central Committee, and it is my request that City Council considers these resolutions and passes them for our city, and encourages these resolutions be addressed by our elected officials at every level of governance. Muscatine County is 18% Latino, and we have several other immigrant populations affected by these DACA policies. We have young kids going to our community colleges right now in our Muscatine County and satellite campuses that are dreamers. My young son, Joey, that is 19, went to high school with a dreamer that's directly affected by some of these policies. These children, they literally don't have a country. To send them back to a place where they've never lived, they don't have a home, they don't have a community, they don't have family, to me is reprehensible. They have, by all intents and purposes, grown up as Americans and are American citizens, and they have tried to apply for citizenship, and I would ask that we consider this. Muscatine, these things are relevant to our population and our socioeconomic growth and development, and our potential source of employees for the hospitality, healthcare, and industrial industries that make our community thrive. So sincerely and respectfully, I request that our City Council review these resolutions and consider passing them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Shelley, it'd help if you would send those to council via email and me. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Please state your name and address.
My name is Vanessa Lopez, and I live at 400 Peachtree Street. And tonight I'm going to be addressing my petition of more than 1,100 handwritten signatures to repeal and replace the Pitbull Ordinance, Title 4, Chapter 2. If you have had or have pets, whether it be a dog, cat, bird, etc., you know how they become a part of your family. Now imagine your beloved pet being taken from you and taken from your family, just because a select few have decided to demonize them because of what they look like and because of what certain individuals of the breed have done. Imagine the amount of pain that would be for you and your family. This scenario happened and is happening to many Muscatine residents, and it is time for this to stop. I know it's a touchy subject for some, but it needs to be addressed. The Pitbull Ordinance was put in place since 2003 with only 500 signatures. Since 2006, there's been 8 Pitbull bites, but there has been 71 by Labradors, 20 by German Shepherds, 9 by Beagles, 8 by Chihuahuas, and the list goes on, including those not reported. I say bites because most of the time the biting statistics is not 100% accurate, especially towards dogs of the pit bull status, which I would describe in more detail if you guys consider putting it on the agenda. A large majority of pit bulls are not bad, malicious, or evil, just like a majority of people are not. It is wrong to assume that a dog of this breed is going to turn on its owner and attack people. It is extremely closed-minded and very discriminative. I know a lot of people have voiced their concerns about the safety of their children and public safety in general, and here's the facts. Breed-specific bans do not work. In fact, it is proven that the overall bites actually increased. Why? Because committees are so focused on getting rid of specific breeds than they are of getting rid of the specific problem of dog bites overall. What I'm proposing is to replace the pit bull ban with the dangerous dog ordinance. Now, at the very end of the handouts, there is a model dog ordinance of what this would kind of look like. This ordinance is not breed specific. It is not discriminatory in any way. What this does is set a whole new set of regulations towards animal cruelty, neglect, and dangerous dogs in general. These new provisions would crack down on animal abusers, but another thing that would seriously need to happen is that these cases be investigated more thoroughly and taken seriously. The fact of the matter is when an animal is abused and tormented, there are usually 2 scenarios. One being that they will fear and shy away from human contact, or they will be extremely vicious to protect themselves. This does not go for just pit bulls, but this goes for all dogs in general. So what would be considered a dangerous dog? It would be any dog that has bit someone or another animal. Think of this as an animal registry. When the dog is a first offender, the owner has to comply with X rules or X fines. If the scenario is an extreme case of a biting or attack, then the dog will be reviewed,
and possibly put to sleep. When the dog in question does it again, depending on the situation, it must be removed from city limits or euthanized. It does not matter if the dog is a pit bull or if it's a border collie. There's so many things that I would like to add on to describe this dangerous dog ordinance to you, but I know I don't have enough time to speak on the matter. But I do have quite a few documents that include other cities' dangerous dog ordinances from a woman who works on changing the bans. I can provide you with her contact information as well. I just want to end with that I am here voicing for those that do not have a voice. For those who are constantly demonized because of what they look like, demonized because of what specific individuals of the breed has done. It does not define the entire breed overall. They are great dogs. They are family dogs. They have been used as service dogs, police dogs, search and rescue, and the list goes on. They're not some vicious fighting dog that wants to rip out the throats of everyone and everything. That is not the case. As council members, I and all those who signed and those who support this petition that have not got a chance to sign would like you all to strongly consider lifting and replacing the ban with this new ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez.
Do you have a
Thank you for
copy
coming.
of the petition with the signatures?
Yes. Would you guys prefer like a PDF file or would you prefer like physical copies of them?
PDF is fine with me.
PDF. And who would I send that to?
You can just drop that off with our office.
Just drop it off to the office? Okay.
Thank you.
Kelsey Brackett, 2817 Mulberry. And just on that, I did want to say that she's going to go through and make sure that all the signatures match up with city limits and that type of thing. So, and just wanted to voice my support in that as well.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions, you can reach out to either one of us. And you said go ahead and drop it off in electronic
Drop it
format.
off to Fran.
We'll scan it and get it
You
into a
just shoot me
PDF.
Email, or we can scan it ourselves, whatever
Yeah,
works
it's
better for you.
about 70-some pages, so we'll go through it first and then get that to you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Thank you, Kelsey. We're going to continue on with tonight's agenda.
Your Honor,
Yes,
if I can make one quick comment.
sure.
It's nice to know that our police officers are watching the council meeting. So they, just a quick correction, it was not Thursday, Friday, it was Wednesday, Thursday when the traffic enforcement took place. And it does do, and can do both, and there were 3 semis during that time frame.
Okay. Thank you.
One more item I'd like to be able to, I think, Ms. Lopez, I would like to see if we could set some time where maybe you and maybe the other at-large member would like to, at least so we could hear a little bit of what more information you have. So if you could contact us, send us an email, and I think we would like to hear your side, and I think I want to hear the other side because we've heard a little bit of both. So
It
we
might be a
can,
topic for a depth meeting as well.
we could if we were to pursue that, but I would like to have an opportunity to see if you could email me that and we can set something up. Thank you.
Thank you. We're on number 5 on tonight's agenda, the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes items 6A through B, items 8A through K, items 9A through C, items 12A and B, and tonight's bills totaling $2,442,299.90.
Your Honor, I'd like to pull out 8K for separate discussion.
Thank you.
What was that,
Is the
8K?
8K.
8K.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding item 8K?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with all ayes. We will now talk about item 8K in its normal sequence. We have a request from Hy-Vee Main Street for use of property, city property, as storage for the truckload tent sale, September 28th of 2017 through October 10th of 2017. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Discussion.
discussion, my only concern with this is they're wanting to close off the bottom portion of, well, not the bottom portion, half a block of Orange Street, the entire street, for a week and a half, and between 5th and 6th. And I was just wondering whether instead of closing the entire street off, whether we could just close the half of the streets that's closest to their building so that we can still maintain at least a traffic flow. Because the concern is it's not for a day or 2 days, it's for a week and a half. So I was wondering whether, and I don't know if the Matt is here tonight, but whether they could get by with just using the half of the street. Since
Brian?
apparently they just want to.
Brian, can you shed some light?
Is there any residents that front?
Brian Steinman, Public Works Director. I don't know that I can shed any light. My question would be, if we close half the street, which half would we keep? It'd have to be a one-way, one way or the other. We wouldn't have room to have cars alternate and pass, so I would need direction as to which way we'd want to have traffic go one way. So if we close the west side, it would be one way going north, would be what I would suggest, but I just want to put that out there because we won't have space to have cars alternate and pass. I think it might be a safety issue. That's
Unless
all
you
I
just
have.
asked them to alternate, like a lot of times.
I think their closure, the way I look at it, is over a half a block. That's an awful long ways to alternate, and especially turning off of 5th Street to wait for a car. I don't think you have space there to stack cars to wait for another car. That's my concern for Public Works, so.
Thank you, Brian.
I would amend the motion to say we just block off half the street, the half that's on the store side, which would be the southbound side, I guess, or southeastbound side, and leave the northbound side open,
But for alternating traffic or for a one-way?
however the city wants to handle it, I guess. I would agree with alternating traffic or one way. It doesn't make any difference as long as one lane is open.
So that's up to your discretion is what he's saying, Brian. Alternator or one-way? Okay,
Well,
I-
of course, first somebody has to second the motion.
I second the motion.
Mike, is there any other issues with this for a fire truck or an ambulance going up and down, or?
I don't believe so with that small space right there. There's not a whole lot as far as businesses or houses in that area. It'd be easy for us to go around. We can find that way.
It's simply that green space right behind Hy-Vee. There's no housing, no nothing on that site.
Are there other houses?
I mean,
I don't have the map up. Well, I know the whole green space,
It's just
that's,
that green space portion that they're talking about, from 5th Street to the alley.
is it, I know, but the house that's on the corner of 6th, does it driveway come out onto Orange, or is it off on 6th?
Orange Street, looks like. I can't tell,
But
but it
that
looks
would
like
be the
Orange Street,
only-
but that would be open.
But it's a corner house, so they can access their property and not cause any issues.
But they're only going to the alley
yeah,
anyway. They're not
Right.
going to that
So
far.
there wouldn't be,
So
yeah, it wouldn't be
there's nothing
affected.
adjacent to the area that they're talking about. It's just green space.
I noticed on the handout we got, nobody on the city staff has signed off on this yet, so that made me wonder whether there are some other questions.
It is signed off now. The document that you had was not signed because they brought it in late on Wednesday and needed to get it on there. But Lori did take that around and it was signed by everyone.
Okay. Moving on. All right.
I'm fairly certain this.
Sorry, Ed.
I said, Mayor Council, the only thing I'd add is I'm pretty sure this isn't the first year that this has been done.
I thought it was done at least last year.
I think it's been done more than that in my recollection. This is, couple of
And they
years.
closed the whole thing.
In my, I can't say that 100%, but that in my recollection, yes.
So they're closing the entire street, or we are closing it at the alley?
At the alley is what I
5th
believe.
Street to the alley entrance.
That's consistent with what's been
Yeah.
done in the past, yeah. So.
I don't, I'll call the question.
Marion Carlson, oh, you already called the question.
Calling the question. Get it over with here.
Vote on the amendment first.
Well, we're on the original motion. I can't remember
Yeah, and then
who.
The amendment.
We're on the amendment.
We made the amendment already,
All right.
is what I- and I second that amendment.
On the amendment.
Vote on the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion carries.
Sounds like 4-2.
Sounds like
We
it.
got to vote on the original
And voting on
motion
the
now.
original one, so we,
Ayes and 1 nay.
No,
so we had
4
4
to 2.
and 2. So on the original motion to close the whole thing, all in favor say aye.
But we're not.
This is on the
no,
mod-
Or as amended, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
There you go.
Now you got a 5-1.
Moving on,
He's going to change.
Okay.
we have number 7, a public hearing. We have a public hearing tonight that concerns the proposed HNI Community Center and Musser Public Library project. In order to adhere to the revised building project timeline, the library would like to begin the construction process as soon as possible. Prior to any formal action on the plans, specifications, form of contract, cost estimate, and setting a bid opening date, a public hearing is required. Now is the time for the public to comment.
I'd
Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to close?
Move to close.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving down to 9 on tonight's agenda, we have a couple of proclamations. First of all, whereas the television series Fireball Run has selected the city of Muscatine as one of the 2017 program's interactive destinations, and whereas the city of Muscatine has united under the leadership of Muscatine Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce and Industry to host this great opportunity, and whereas Fireball Run brings awareness to the race to recover America's missing children, and whereas more than 4 million viewers will be able to view historic downtown Muscatine, and whereas the city of Muscatine has this rare opportunity to have Muscatine's history and tourism attractions featured on the Fireball Run series. Now therefore I, Diana Broderson, Mayor of the City of Muscatine, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, September 26th of 2017 as Fireball Run Day in Muscatine, and I want to encourage our citizens to welcome the Fireball Run contestants and crew to our wonderful city and recognize their efforts to recover America's missing children and for the opportunity to promote our amazing town, Muscatine, Iowa. I'd like to encourage everyone, if they can, come down on Tuesday, September 21st, on Iowa Avenue between 2nd and 3rd from 11:30 to 2, and watch everything happen.
Mayor?
Yes,
I thought it was the 26th.
26th.
Okay.
What did I say?
21st.
26th. Today's the 21st. And I will be giving the host of the show this proclamation on Tuesday. Next, we have Public Power Week. Whereas we, the citizens of Muscatine, place high value on local control over community services and therefore have chosen to operate community-owned, locally controlled, not-for-profit electric, water, and communications utilities, have a direct say through their Board of Trustees in utility operations and policies. And whereas the Muscatine Power and Water Electric System is a community asset that contributes to the well-being of the citizens and the employees, our neighbors, serving neighbors, providing homes, businesses, farms, and local government agencies with not-for-profit electric services that are safe, reliable, and cost-effective. And whereas Muscatine Power and Water is a dependable and trustworthy institution whose local operation provides many consumer protections and continues to make our community and the city of Muscatine a better place in which to live and work, as well as contributions to protecting our environment. Be it further resolved that the week of October 1st through 7th be designated for the 31st Annual Public Power Week in order to honor Muscatine Power and Water for its contributions to the community and to make its consumer owners, policymakers, and employees more aware of Muscatine Power and Water's overall contributions to the community. And be it further resolved that our community joins hands with more than 2,000 other public power systems in the United States in the celebration of public power and recognition that Muscatine Power and Water is good for consumers, business, the community, and the nation. We are lucky to have a public power in our community. Our final proclamation is for Crop Hunger Walk. Whereas at the end of World War II, many people wanted to share our country's abundance with European war victims, and Church World Service and CROP's first purpose was to gather wheat and other crops from U.S. farms and shipment to Europe. And whereas today, locally organized Church World Service-sponsored crop hunger walks are an important part of community life for more than 2,000 towns and cities in the United States, bringing together people of different faiths, diverse cultures, and all age groups. And whereas in crop hunger walks raise over $10 million annually to help bring help and hope to people in need around the world and in the United States. And whereas each year, Crop Hunger Walks help more than 1,918 local food pantries, food banks, and meal sites in the United States by providing food to neighbors in need, including our own Crop Hunger Walk here in Muscatine. Whereas the annual Crop Hunger Walk will be held on October 1st to help our community become aware of and concerned about hunger and its causes. And whereas the Crop Hunger Walk will raise funds to help stop hunger both locally and globally. Now therefore, I, Diana Broderson, Mayor of the City of Muscatine, do hereby recognize Sunday, October 1st of 2017 as Crop Hunger Walk Day in Muscatine and encourage residents to support this event. Deb was going to be here, but I don't. There you are, yes. Please come to the podium if you would. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Burrison.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your support. I'm Deborah Hughes, speaking on behalf of the Muscatine Crop Hunger Walk Committee, and I want to thank Mayor Broderson, the City of Muscatine, and all the residents of the Muscatine area for their support of this important cause. This is the 46th year that more than 20 congregations and organizations in the Muscatine area have come together to raise these funds. A portion of the funds do stay locally through the Muscatine Food Pantry and the Bags of Blessing program. We have been very fortunate here in the city of Muscatine in that we have been a leader in the state of Iowa at raising funds, and I thank you for your continued support, and we're hoping to have a very successful walk again this year in 2017. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
We're going to move along on tonight's agenda. We're on 11A. Presented for City Council's consideration is the first reading of an ordinance to amend Title VII, Chapter 9, Section 4, to extend the downtown parking zone. As part of the Come and Go construction project, the city has acquired 19 new parking spaces on Sycamore Street between 4th and 5th Streets. The proposed amendment would change parking on Sycamore Street on both sides from Mississippi Drive to 4th Street to Mississippi Drive to 5th Street. Is there a motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Natvig, how do you vote?
Aye.
Bynum?
Aye.
Raywalt?
Aye.
Harvey?
Aye.
Saucedo?
Aye.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Motion carries with all ayes. 11B. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution establishing types of parking in designated areas of the downtown and to change parking time limits on Second Street. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, yes, Your Honor. Excuse me. Just wondered if on the Second Street parking, whether we should specify Second Street between Mulberry and, what is it, Lynn, or whatever it is, as those sections of block on Second, whether that would be appropriate on this ordinance change. And my other question would be whether, to be consistent with what we're doing on Second Street, whether we ought to make the free parking, future free parking on Mississippi Drive to be 2 hours per block, as we are on Second. Because as I understand it, the ones on Mississippi Drive will encompass more than one block. I guess before I make an motion, I'd like to say Greg's input on that.
I'm not sure that Mississippi Drive is as critical of an issue from my perspective on the per block issue. I mean, the main issue on the per block issue is the number of businesses that are directly adjacent to the parking. We're going to be adding 50-plus parking along Mississippi Drive. While there are a couple businesses that have parking directly adjacent to it, I don't think it will be as significant of an issue that it is on Second Street. I don't know that there's a downside, but we are encouraging, I guess, I can't think of a positive or, I guess, it's a different issue on Second Street. Really, the issue only exists really, or mainly on Second Street, where we have a number of folks that are parking directly adjacent to the business and that are not using the business.
Okay, so that addresses
I think it's unique
Mississippi
to
Drive.
Second Street.
How about designating on Second Street the blocks between Mulberry and whatever it is, Lynn, or whatever it is up there? Because obviously, we don't truly mean going into the residential area.
Looks like Nancy's got an answer for you.
I can look at the specific language, but the Second Street, it would be the length that's in the parking zone. So the code defines the parking zone, just like we're changing Sycamore Street, extending the zone there. I believe that the Second Street zone would specify the length of Second Street in the parking zone. But I can look at that.
Would that be, if a citizen was reading this, would that be close to where they could see what the parking zone would be without digging through a bunch of sub-paragraphs?
If this is approved, we would change the signs all along Second Street. So rather than having people read resolutions, they would probably rely on the signage.
Okay.
Are you satisfied,
I'm
Alan?
satisfied.
Thank you, Nancy.
So we requested the last 2 weeks ago when we talked about, feedback from the community. Did we get that at all, as far as other than Mr. Osborne?
I think you received, I received I received a call from Ann Meeker, and I received 2 emails talking about, one from Pizza Underground and one from
Did we get anything from tenants?
tenants?
Yeah.
2 business,
Tenants.
the Hall Tree Boutique and Pizza Underground.
So we only got businesses.
I apologize, I can't hear you.
We only got businesses to inform us on the change.
Those are the only 3 that I heard from, was the property owner and 2 tenants.
Pardon
And
me?
then,
I'm a new business owner. I just
Yeah, so what I'm requesting was feedback from the tenants
People that live there.
that live in the homes. Do you live downtown?
I actually just live a block up the street.
Yeah, that would be out of the zone.
Okay, thank you.
I have a comment. I did receive a couple of, or a text and email this afternoon from business owners on Second Street that, now they said they weren't aware of the proposed change, and I believe them, but they were not necessarily supportive of them. They
preferred it stay.
understand our motive is to help the retailers on Second Street. They understand that, but they are of the opinion that it would not help them. And I just want to, I don't see either one of them here tonight, so I wanted to comment that, no, it wasn't you, it was two others, I'm sorry. But just make the comment that they had that input. Now I think if we approve this, you know, it doesn't mean we couldn't change it if,
If it didn't work.
yeah. But
And that's really the benefit of a resolution. And in talking to a couple of the folks, one of the things I wanted to point out, while they weren't, one preferred to keep the current 3-hour designation, and so did the second one as well. However, what we did discuss or exchange was that, and I thought it was important to point out, was that in the downtown, we have 140 10-hour parking spaces in and around the downtown. So, and for example, right at Second and Pine, where the closest to the two businesses in question, we have 16 spaces that are free for up to 4 hours, 5 2-hour meters, 1 handicap space, 15 10-hour meters, and 4 lease spaces as well. So we have a significant number at that location as well. But not only at Second and Pine, we have one by a parking lot by at a number of our, well, across the street from City Hall, by the salon, behind Guadalajara on Sycamore, is where we have 140 10-hour parking spaces. One of the issues that came up was signage. I'm not a big fan of adding signage, but directional signage or wayfinding so that we can point folks in the direction of long-term parking may be an important component as well. That's not even to mention the riverfront, which is free. It is an obstacle right now with Mississippi Drive construction, and then the 50-plus parking spaces that will be added on Mississippi Drive as
should
well.
get better. And I just remembered one other business, two employees in the same business had opposing views on it. So it is,
Okay.
you know, our intent is to help the retailers, but I just wanted to let other comments be known.
Sure.
And
Did you have a comment you wanted to add? Please come up.
Okay, so Shelley Servideo again. So my business is new. I've just started July 1st, so I'm new to the game, and I don't have a long frame of reference like some of the people here that have been here and doing this a long time. So I come to that freely admitting that I'm still learning. But what I have seen is that the needs are different on different blocks. So at my end of the block, I'm at 209 West 2nd, and I'm across the street from Miss Ellie's. And a lot of the patrons that are coming in and parking there, the target demographic, especially on their Fridays, when they're having a lot of their showers or their baby showers or their wedding type things, a lot of elderly, this is more of a target destination. This isn't a mall. We're not parking and walking. We're parking and staying, and it's more of it's a destination park and stop. And I know that there is a parking lot that's right there, but there's not a lot of handicap parking in that actual parking lot. And so, so then you have all the employees that work in that whole building that are running around every 2 hours. They're trying to run out of the building. They're trying to move their cars around. They're trying to run back in the building and do their job. And so that affects them as well, because where do they go? And then you have the elderly people that they're there for this event. You don't want them having to come out of an event after, because they usually are there at least 3 hours, because there's setup, there's the actual event, it's their family, and then there's breakdown. And these events usually last longer than just 2 hours. And women and men, that's another thing we should also consider. Men and women shop differently. So men, I know I want this. I'm going to go in, I'm going to shop, I'm going to be done. They can do a quick 2-hour turnaround if they're going to want shop that way. But women that are shopping on my block with Feather Your Interiors, that's a big place to shop, lots of couches and things to look at. And then at Miss Ellie's and Wine Nuts, Ports that are underground, the restaurants so that they can do the 2 hours, but then there's the other businesses where they want to park, they want to eat, that's an hour and a half, but then that doesn't leave but only 30 minutes for shopping. So you have to consider the demographic of like just my block. The needs are different than say you go down the street another block and maybe they want a quicker turnaround for people parking and shopping. So I really think that if we're going to consider the needs, we can't really do a one-size-fits-all approach. I mean, economically, for how each business is affected, treating this like it's a mall instead of a destination doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Did Port City Underground support this?
They prefer the 3-hour
They
timeframe.
prefer the 3-hour.
Right.
And I personally prefer a 3-hour. I may come down for that 15-minute shopping to get something and then come back later, and the building that I'm going to, or business, hasn't moved. It's still there in that one block face, and so I would be rather ticked to get a ticket because I'm on that 3rd or 2nd Street, but I'm in the same block face. I may be in a different stall, but this, to me, the businesses and the residents could fix this. The businesses could tell their employee, you will be fired if I find that you are parking in the downtown area on 2nd. And business owners need to do the same thing. They're not going to fire themselves. But the residents that are upstairs need to know that that 3rd or 2nd Street is for people to come down and shop, not park and then run down and move your car every 3 hours. We're chasing tail here that we've been I've been on council a long time. Nancy's had her parking committee numerous times, and we keep doing the same crap. But and the reason is because people don't want to police themselves. And I'd personally like to pull out all the meters in the downtown, proposed that several times. But the problem is, everybody that has a business on 2nd Street or others on the side streets, they want enforcement. And you can't pay for enforcement if you're not collecting money from the meters. So I don't support this.
It is hard to go to lunch at Port City Underground and then go shop after you're over 2 hours. Any other discussion?
I pretty much just want to make sure that I am clear that I want to have more residents and not just the business owners that are driving this. I want to have information from both sides, so I will not support this. I asked for residents' information and I didn't get it. So I'm going to keep it the way it is, in my opinion.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Harvey, how do you vote?
Yes.
What did you say?
He said yes. Councilman Saucedo?
No.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
No.
Councilman Raywalt?
No.
Councilman Bynum?
No.
Councilman Natvig?
Aye.
The resolution did not get adopted. We're moving on to 11C. Pardon me? Yes.
There was 3 parts to that resolution, and I can bring it back next week, but that resolution did include assigning the spaces on the new block of Sycamore as lease parking and 2-hour parking on Mississippi Drive. So those parts of the resolution, are you interested in bringing those 2 back?
We had in this presented establishing the types of parking in designated areas of the downtown and
that
to
was
change
in-
the parking time limits, so 2 things.
But the whole resolution wasn't passed.
A had the proposed amendment changes for Sycamore and Mississippi Drive. We voted on B.
We voted on B. A went through, B did not.
Right, so Nancy's on B, that has 3 component pieces to it. And Nancy's looking to bring back the other 2 component, because it seemed like most of the discussion was on Second Street and the 3-hour time limit. The other piece is adding lease spaces on Sycamore, and then parking on Mississippi Drive as well.
So item 1 and 2 of that resolution.
2 and
You'd be 2 and 3 that we're
2 and
okay
3.
with.
So
Wow.
Yeah, we can bring it back.
either way, it sounded like most of the discussion was on, and the consensus was not to proceed with changing from 3 to 2 hours on Second Street, but there was no discussion really on the other component pieces. So is there any objection to bringing those portions back, or even
How about
council-
doing it
council
right
could
now?
do it right now?
I'd go ahead and move the approval of the
Part
the
2.
lease spots on Sycamore Street and then Mississippi Drive.
I would
Second?
second that motion.
2 and 3, actually.
Councilman Natvig, how do you vote?
Aye.
Bynum?
Aye.
Raywalt?
Aye.
Harvey?
What are we changing? 3?
2 and 3.
We're
2 and
adding,
3.
we're adding adding the lease spaces and then addressing Mississippi Drive, not addressing Second Street. No changes to Second Street.
Okay, I'll vote yes.
Councilman Salcedo?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Resolution is adopted with all ayes.
And just to be clear on A, I would like the information as I requested from staff, if they want to bring A up again.
Thank you, Councilman Salcedo. We're on 11C. We already had the public hearing. Now, we have a resolution approving the plans and specifications, cost estimate, form of contract, and setting bid opening date for the HNI Community Center and Musser Public Library project. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Natvig, how do you vote?
Aye.
Bynum?
Aye.
Raywalt?
Aye.
Harvey?
Aye.
Salcedo?
Aye.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11D, presented for City Council's consideration as a resolution authorizing the assessment of unpaid abatement costs to private properties. Periodically, the city takes action to assess unpaid nuisance abatement costs to private properties. The nuisance abatement costs for snow, junk, and weed removal total $7,922.50. The administrative fees are $1,900, and the assessment fees are $2,350. The total fee being requested for assessment at this time totals $12,172.50. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Scott? Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Fitzgerald, how do you vote?
Aye.
Saucedo?
Aye.
Harvey?
Aye.
Raywalt?
Aye.
Bynum?
Aye.
And Natvig.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11E, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution setting a public hearing on a rezoning request for the proposed Oak Park Development Project in the city of Muscatine. The developer is requesting the rezoning of approximately 10 acres of real estate located at the corner of Blaine Street and Izard Avenue from single-family residential to RL large-scale residential development. Prior to any formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. This hearing will take place on Thursday, October 5th, 2017, at 7 p.m. Is there a motion to adopt the
So moved.
resolution as submitted?
Second, Your Honor.
Second. Any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I talked to Mr. Edgman a little bit before council meeting about my concern with the terrain of that area, and I'd like him to come up and make a few of the comments that he made to me concerning the terrain.
You remember what that was, Jim?
Next meeting.
I forewarned him that I was going to call him, so.
Setting the public hearing.
Mayor, Council, first of all, this is just a resolution, or to just to set a public hearing. So at this stage, it's very preliminary what they've submitted for this area. I have looked at it. yes, there can be concerns about the density and aligning and putting this development together the way it is. So I guess what I want to do is assure the council that if this variance is granted, this is RL. Andrew, it comes back before council again, right?
Right. Yes.
Get up here.
Mayor, Council, just to explain that zoning in the RL district works differently than all the other zoning districts in town. Essentially, it'll have to come before you twice, now potentially 3 times. This time, it's just kind of what they're seeking is approval as the general outline. Assuming they got that approval, assuming that then the project got its funding and moved forward, they would then have to submit the fully designed detailed drainage plan, which would be reviewed by staff, then have a public hearing, and then that, among some other details, would have a hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then come to you with that full set of details at that point. So you wouldn't expect the fully fleshed out details at this point. with
So
respect to
at
that.
this point, this is extremely premature to discuss any issue related to this, other than the want to have it done properly.
Correct. I mean, essentially what this is looking at is this type of land use appropriate at this location? Then the next round that comes before you is the nitty-gritty details, drainage, landscaping, et cetera, all those type of things.
Okay.
Good. Thank you, Andrew.
So I'll just put a quick end on that. We will make sure that it works on that side.
Thank you.
We'll get the
Jim.
engineering straight.
Thank you, Jim.
Hearing no other discussion, Councilman Natvig, how do you vote?
Aye.
Bynum?
Aye.
Raywalt?
Aye.
Harvey?
Aye.
Saucedo?
Aye.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11F, presented for City Council's consideration as a resolution approving the annual street finance report for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 2017. Street-related expenditures for the year totaled $9,526. Start over, $9,526,677, which includes $9,114,502 paid from city funds and other funding sources, and $412,175 of street lighting costs provided by Muscatine Power and Water. That was a long sentence. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Scott? Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Fitzgerald, how do you vote?
Aye.
Saucedo?
Aye.
Harvey?
Aye.
Raywalt?
Aye.
Bynum?
Aye.
And Natvig.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11G, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution approving a utility easement at the municipal airport. CenturyLink required an electric line be installed to power a source transformer in front of the airport terminal building. The work has been completed, and CenturyLink is requesting approval of a 3-foot utility easement. Muscatine Power and Water and the city engineer have reviewed and approved the easement. Is there a motion to approve the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Natvig, how do you vote?
Aye.
Bynum?
Aye.
Raywalt?
Aye.
Harvey?
Aye.
Saucedo?
Aye.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11H, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to declare items as surplus to allow for their disposal by a public surplus auction. The items will be available by auction online starting September 22nd of 2017. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11I, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to authorize the issuance of a purchase order for storm repairs at Sunset Park. One bid was received from All Major Restoration in the amount of $268,396.63. This project is the subject of an insurance claim, and the Muscatine Municipal Housing Agency will be responsible for the deductible totaling $50,343.70. Staff is requesting the issuance of a purchase order to All Major Restoration for the full amount of the insurance estimate for these repairs. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
How did we just receive one bid for that?
The other two, they put it out for 3. G&S didn't answer.
Okay.
And just a quick note, on a positive note, staff has been working with AJG and our broker and ICAP, and has identified a different policy that's now available for the housing department, and that'll have the same deductible now as the city, which is $5,000 instead of $50,000, which has not
That's
been
mentioned in the
not been
background.
available in the past. But I think it's just something to point out
Sure,
that
to the
it's
public,
a good deal going forward.
Okay.
Hearing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11J, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve change order number 2 for the landfill cell number 5 construction project. It has been determined that the soil to be used for the lagoon did not meet the required density or compaction levels. Therefore, it is necessary that soil be taken from the back borrow pit area. In addition, it will be necessary to move the excess soil from the lagoon to the stockpile for landfill operations. The total cost for the change order is an amount not to exceed $9,000. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Natvig, how do you vote?
Aye.
Bynum?
Aye.
Raywalt?
Aye.
Harvey?
Aye.
Saucedo?
Aye.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
The request is approved with all ayes. 11K, presented for City Council's consideration is a request from the Fire Department for the issuance of a purchase order for tactical helmets and vests. 2 bids were received, with the low bid from Strikers in the amount of $9,156. Staff is requesting the issuance of a purchase order to Strikers in an amount not to exceed $9,156 for this safety equipment. There is $9,200 budgeted for the purchase. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
A quick question for,
Captain Sykes.
is,
Chief.
are these 3 fits all, or are these 3 for specific firefighters? And will they be available, I guess?
Right. What we have a tactical medic program, and we have 3 individuals on our department who are medics who have specialized training. And what they do is they are attached to the special response team of the police department. They have specialized training, specialized equipment, all those kind of things. It's kind of a neat little process we have there. We developed the program in, I believe it was 2007 to 2008, and since that time we've attached with the special response team on a number of responses. The equipment itself, going to your question specifically, it's extra large. So it's not tailored for an individual because they have it that way. So if we do have any kind of change of our tactical medics, we'll be able to move that equipment from one person to another.
Okay, that was kind of my question, whether it's 3 individuals or 3 kind of anybody's that this equipment would fit.
Right, it's 3 sets of equipment, and quite honestly, it will, if need be, it could fit most of the department.
Do you have any more than just those 3?
No, we just have the 3.
Any interest in getting more?
We've looked at how we can improve the program. One thing with this, again, there's a lot of training costs to it. Anybody who's a tactical medic has to go through the basic SWAT class as well as a tactical emergency medical services course. and you start adding those training costs up, it becomes fairly expensive with that and other equipment. Along with that, since it is so specialized, we don't want to get too many people involved because then they won't be able to respond and train enough to maintain that level of competency. So at this point, that's what we're looking at. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11L, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve a supplemental agreement for vibration monitoring for the Mississippi Drive Corridor Project. The existing environmental assessment and supporting memorandum of understanding require the city to monitor vibrations on multiple older buildings adjacent to the project. This supplemental agreement is needed to get through the first phase of the project. Funds for this agreement will come out of the jurisdictional transfer funds set aside for this project. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Bill?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11M, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve a supplemental agreement for archaeological monitoring for the Mississippi Drive Corridor Project. The existing environmental assessment and supporting memorandum of understanding require the city hire an archaeologist to monitor the excavation for utilities in certain areas of the project. This supplemental agreement is needed to get through the first phase of the project. Funds for this agreement will come out of the jurisdictional transfer funds set aside for this project. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. Moving on to 14 on tonight's agenda, communication from council members. Councilman Natvig, do you have anything tonight?
Just to kind of repeat what you mentioned earlier, that the Red Bull event is next Tuesday, correct?
Yes, Fireball
Or
Run.
the, excuse me, the fire.
It's okay.
Red Bull. One of those.
A long meeting.
I might take some of that with me.
Okay,
Bill Bull.
That's all. Thank you.
thank you. Councilman Bynum?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Councilman Raywalt?
No, thank you, nothing tonight.
Councilman Harvey?
Yes, Your Honor. Kind of on hindsight, maybe we should have monitored Third Street for vibrations also, but that's water on the dam. But I would make a request for the city staff to review the model ordinance on the dog bite, vicious dog, whatever you want to call it, and maybe come back at an in-depth session to give us your take on whether we need to or ought to, or would this fit into the existing ordinance that Muscatine has. Because actually, I see that, yes, I would, I voted for the pit bull ban, but really the broader question is just dog bites and vicious animals in general. So anyway, I'd like to have maybe the city look into it and see what your thoughts might be.
My only concern with that, Mr. Harvey, is the fact that City Council had this issue come up before, and they decided that we weren't going to do anything, make any changes at that time. So I think before you use additional staff time, you ought to have at least 3 other people on council that would agree that they need to bring that information forward. I personally, I mean, they indicated dog bites were more with the other ones than the pit bulls over this certain period, but that's probably because the pit bulls were banned from being in the community, therefore they couldn't bite anybody. So,
Well, my initial was pro-ban because I had a relative who was attacked by pit bulls, so, but I was just wondering whether we're not protecting really the public against other types of vicious dogs.
well, I think we
So,
are, because
I guess there is a vicious dog ordinance in there.
We do have a
We just
dangerous,
removed a German Shepherd from the community after the second bite, whether it's a pit bull or a illegal pit bull or a German Shepherd or a Chihuahua. If he bites twice, he's gone.
We do have a dangerous and vicious animal ordinance, and the police department has reviewed that and has recommended one or two, a very minor word change that we'll be bringing back in October with other ordinance changes, but
So you are proposing a couple word changes?
it's literally one or two words to the dangerous and vicious animal ordinance.
But I think
So
Santos.
what I requested was just basically us going, not having any quorum, but having an opportunity for us to sit down and hear her out.
You were just seeking individual input.
Correct. I want her
from
input. I want to be able to, hear that out and,
Hear both
and,
sides.
and hear both sides. And then if there's enough, I should say, information provided to us that would allow us to say, okay, hey, I think we can get 3 or 4 on the council that would be interested. But at this time, that's still not for me to be able to evaluate. We provided with this information, and that was 1,100 signatures that we haven't seen yet. That was very similar to what I think happened last time when I said I'm willing to hear them out, and that's really what I'm after first. But I don't want to, I'll let you keep finishing up what you have for
Well,
communications.
I'm done. That's-
Are you good, Alan?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilman Saucedo, do you have anything tonight?
Just wanted to communicate to the, I got a few phone calls, and I have communicated some information on Second Street and Pine, the parking lots that were there, the alleys between Second and Third and Mississippi. I have communicated with the staff in regards to addressing the leaves and the pickups of the trash, and Logan Street, Hauser Street from Lucas to Grandview in regards to just the amount of trash, and letting staff know that we are addressing that. We have communicated that, and hopefully we will be getting some of that trash picked up. That's all I have.
Mayor, I actually do have something, if we
Okay.
have a moment. When staff are thinking about possible solutions to Third Street's problems, and which will arise over and over and over again, I think let's try to think of some way you can share the burden a little bit. Closing off, really seriously making local traffic only on some of these streets, and every 2 weeks or 4 weeks, make another street the venue, the detour route. It's really pretty terrible. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Fitzgerald,
Nothing additional.
staff?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
I just had a couple things. Coffee with the Mayor is this Saturday, 9 o'clock at Happy Joe's. Love to have everybody come, Saturday, the 23rd. Second, I'd like to thank all the wonderful volunteers that came out for Day of Caring on Wednesday. It was just amazing to see how many community volunteers went out to help others that were in need. Our local fire department, Joe Timpson, did a great job. They installed 58 smoke alarms in homes that needed them, so great effort by them. And then just to reiterate, Fireball Run on Tuesday. Thank you all. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned.
I might like a Red Bull.